A quick word of caution that this episode does have discussion about suicide. Please listen with discretion. Have you ever thought about what it's like to run a podcast? To think of a kind of unique idea, unique-ish idea, take it, flesh it out, figure out how to produce it, all the back-end stuff, deal with multiple schedules when you're booking guests, and sometimes a lot of hoops to jump through if they have assistants, gatekeepers, PR folks, all of that. And then you hit publish. You put it out into the world and hope people care enough to listen every time you publish. And I can tell you one thing, after 3+ years of Culture Changers, it can be kind of lonely when you're doing all of this and producing this content week after week after week, year after year after year. It can be kind of lonely. Some weeks you'll get really great and meaningful feedbacks, and some weeks it's crickets. So I'm going to be doing two things about this loneliness part. The first, which I am so stoked about, is I'm introducing a new format to throw in the mix of Culture Changers. I'm still going to have interviews. I'm still going to do solo casts, but another ingredient to the recipe. And I'm not doing it alone. I'm going to have a more regular partner, a chat cast style conversation. I'm excited. I'm calling the working title is Culture Clash. So I immediately asked my girl and frequent guest, Cindy Robinson, who has an exceptionally unique approach to, well, just about everything. And I asked her to be a frequent co-host. And her approach to life and to how her existing has really made me rethink it all. So I was super stoked when she said yes to breaking down some juicy topics that we are all grappling with in our culture. And the first episode, the first Chatcast episode that I'm going to introduce you to is today. And it is on, I love this topic so much, false prophets and Teal Swan. If you don't know who Teal Swan is, just Google her right now and look her up on YouTube. You're going to learn really fast, and we're going to break it down. Is she a false prophet? Is she causing harm? Is she legitimate? Does she have answers? And so the truth is, it's in our nature to look to someone else on this earth who's got more answers than we do to help us along. And so in some cases, some of those people that we look up to have a lot more confidence than they do wisdom. And sometimes it's easy to be tricked by that. So we're going to go deep into it today. And you may be wondering, why a chatcast? For me, my hope is that these conversations are going to allow us to have the time to unpack some kind of tangly, salacious, sometimes interesting topics. And they might not be as shiny as some of the other episodes because we're kind of unpacking it in real time and breaking it down. And so we're going to be kind of dissecting topics where I come at it from a pop culture perspective. And Cindy, who says she doesn't really know pop culture very well, she's going to break it down through a mindfulness lens and what it means to society. Isn't that so cool? So we're going to be covering such amazing topics, and I would love your feedback on some ideas as well. But some of them are like porn and profit, MLMs, multi-level marketing companies. You can insert whatever company you want. Neurodiversity, which not only has become a buzzword, but has really kind of come into the lexicon of our world. And I'm so excited to dive into that. Or even crypto or LGBTQ plus rights and so much more. What do you think? Do you have any topics you'd love for us to cover? You can DM me, you can DM Cindy, go on Instagram or go to ALLISON'S and shoot me an email or even just the show notes, and everything is there. The other thing, remember there was a part 2 of the loneliness side. The other thing I am now offering is a Patreon for this show. Now, if you don't know what Patreon is, it is a way to support creators, and you can become a beloved patron of this show. And while the content has always been free to listen to, it has not been free to make. And I'm looking to enhance the listener experience. So any contribution you can make will really make a difference, a huge difference for me. In exchange, would you like to hear these episodes ad-free or get bonus content and more exclusive access to me and my work and the community I'm building? And I'll tell you, if you are looking to connect with people that are trying to make a difference in this world, you're going to want to be part of this community. Or maybe even some branded merchandise that you can carry around with you, which helps me from a marketing perspective, but also gives you a good feeling about this and is a big giant thank you for me. You can go to patreon.com/culture changers and support the show for as little as a few dollars a month. I will always offer the content for free and would love to enhance the experience with every contribution you make. It is so appreciated. Your listenership, your engagement has always been so appreciated. And also, let me know what would be valuable to you. So here is the inaugural Chatcast Culture Clash with Cindy Robinson, labeled False Prophets and Teal Swan. Make extra special sure you reach out to me and let me know what you think. And text your friends. All right, this is super exciting because I am here once again with my girl, Cindy Robinson. Hey, Cindy.
Hello.
But we are here for a different reason. So normally when we come together, we have a common topic. And, you know, I look to Cindy for all things, really. And I'm like, can you help shift our perspective on something that's really bothering us? And you always have such a great perspective. And we love doing these things so much that we thought, why don't we do kind of a chat cast?
I know. I'm very excited about this.
So we brainstormed a lot of really fun topics. So Cindy is coming on, you know, really more from the mindfulness perspective of, you know, and I'm coming in from the pop culture of this is fucked up, right? And then we're just going to kind of do a more of a free form conversation. And one thing that kept coming up over and over was false prophets.
Yes, for sure. I think you were the first person that I text, like, have you seen this Teal Swan documentary?
So talk about it. What is this?
Well, it's a documentary on it's on Hulu. I know it's accessible by Hulu, but I think it airs on some other channel as well on cable.
Freeform. Yeah.
And it's about, I guess, a spiritual healing guru named Teal Swan, who I'd never heard of. Maybe you had heard of her, but I had never heard of her. And she, it follows her practice. It goes really in depth to her inner circle, and it feels very icky. And by the end, and I was a lot of yelling at the screen the entire time.
Oh my God. So I learned about Teal Swan. I did not know about her, but she's a huge influencer of the wellness industry, the healing industry. And she has millions of followers, whether it is on YouTube, Instagram, maybe TikTok as well. But I think she is well known and has gotten popular on YouTube. And I read this book by Amanda Montell. It's called Cultish. And so it's talking about all of these cults or everyday cults that, you know, you wonder, wait, am I in a cult? And they even have a podcast called Sounds Like a Cult about it. It's really great. But so I'm reading this book called Cultish, and she's talking about Teal Swan. And what's interesting about Teal Swan is that, and why she's so controversial, is she has zero training, zero professional training, but has these life experiences and is kind of self-proclaimed like a prophet. And what she does is she invites very, very fragile people into her midst to have her heal them or help them heal. But in a lot of cases, it kind of moves over to the suicide part. So what did you notice about this? What stood out to you?
I think what stood out to me was that she represented a lot of things that you do. I mean, since I'm in that sort of healing, more alternative world.
And can you tell us, what does that look like for you?
Oh, well, like I do intuitive healing coaching for parents and teens. And what does it look like? It is very made up. I do relate in that sense that sometimes you see a certain, healing path or healing modality and you create something of your own. And I understand that. I get that 100%. But it's very important that you have self-awareness and you know your lane and you know when to refer to therapists and things like that. But yeah, what I notice with her is something that I see oftentimes, which is an inflated ego. That has sort of become the center of the practice, and the idea that she can heal all things and do all things at all times. And it's sort of just these like narcissistic themes that kept coming up, and making sure that everything was centered around her, and anything that wasn't, she sort of turned it into a villain, or demonized it.
So like gaslighting.
Yeah. Which is something that is so funny, because I do see this a lot, like in the healing community, where we contradict ourselves, where we use words like gaslighting, but we almost do it as the professionals by saying we have the answers, we know everything. So it was maddening to me, because I was watching what I do see happen in this community, not all the time by any means, but it happens. And I was like, here it is. This is an example of what we're not supposed to do. And I hope it humble checks all the people who are in our community.
But here's where I think it's interesting. So her critique is that she's narcissistic, she gaslights, she, is very egocentric, a megalomaniac. And I agree with all of those things. And she has people in many, many cases that have attempted suicide or have suicidal ideation coming to her. So people in very fragile states. And she, in many cases, will invite them, and ask them questions that are leading in a way that says, why haven't you done it yet? If this is so bad, why haven't you done it? Almost like suicide's not a bad choice, like if it's so bad, just do it. And that is the part where I think is so dangerous, where there are some people that have completed, and have died by suicide, under her. But what I think is interesting is that she's probably helped a lot of people as well. I mean, you don't get to that kind of level. I don't know. I think people are looking for the Messiah. People are looking for their Messiah here. So if the promise of the Bible is, if you're a Christian, is that Jesus is coming back century after century after century after century, where is he? And so people are wanting somebody to save them, somebody that has the answers. To me, I feel like you have a lot of answers. I'm not saying that you're God or the Messiah.
Jesus, no.
But I'm saying, like I look to you. There are people that I really, really look up to and respect. And there are people that I have spent money with, people, and especially the online coaches. Like the formula itself is really annoying. And so there are people like that I've spent money, I've followed, I've kind of fallen under the spell of, maybe they have the answers, and then you realize it's the same thing. Well, if you want answers, you need to spend however many $1,000s to work with me and be part of this group, but not work directly with me. Be part of this group. I'm going to give you access to my coaching program. And it's a business model, And so I just wonder about monetizing the leverage that you might have as somebody who is a leader or says you're a leader.
Yeah. And I was curious what you thought about all of that, because I know that you've invested a whole lot in these types of, people and modalities. And externally, I think as someone who follows her and maybe has gone to her seminars, I don't think they're seeing a whole lot of big problems. And I don't even know she's causing a ton of problems for that more widespread population. Like it's a lot of like catchy phrases and spiritual insight and things like that. So she's probably doing the most harm, I think, to the people closest to her. I was curious what you thought about that's why I've shared it with you immediately, because I thought you've been more dabbling in all the people in that realm than anyone. I thought, hey, you may have even heard of her and hopefully maybe not sent her money, but I hope not. But yeah, I was wondering because I think the very first thing where I was like, oh, this isn't going to go well, because I didn't watch this knowing that she was maybe somebody who needs to do their own inner work. I was really curious, like, oh, is this, maybe this is someone like me and they have a platform, and I was curious. But
did you do some self-evaluation, like, maybe some of the shit I do is bullshit?
Actually, no, it was actually really empowering, because I already know that a lot that I do is bullshit. Like,
what part is bullshit?
Well, just, I know that I'm reframing some things for people. Like, yes. I know that I might be because I'm relatable. Like, people may hear someone who they relate to someone else and then listen to what they have to say. And I know that there's a whole lot of people who more relate to my style, which is more low key. I'm not trying to do big overhauls of my life. I don't want to be sobbing on the floor. I want as little crying as possible in my healing process. So I think people see that, oh, she feels more like how I would feel safe to heal. And I am taking that and rebranding that and then going, yeah, okay, I mean you too. So in some sense, I know that. Like, I am feeding them the same stuff that you could get anywhere else. But you got to be aware of that.
You can't get it anywhere else. Your brand is completely unique.
Well, that's where you get in danger, right? Is if I'm special in some way. I'm not. Maybe I'm good at rephrasing things. I'm a good translator, that kind of thing.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, but I'm not some messiah. And I remember when the guy questioned her. This is when I was like, all right, this is exactly who, yes. I think this is going to be. The guy questioned her authority. He said, who do you look up to? Who are your mentors? And she got so pissed off and was like, no one. And that's red flag number one. So to me, if you're investing financially and emotionally into someone who's part of your healing process and they can't name mentors, where they get their information, who they look up to, that's a big old problem.
Do you feel like there are some people that are, I'm a person who generally is not very sensitive to extrasensory kind of things. I do believe some people are gifted in that area, whether it is intuitive nudges, maybe some people are better practiced at understanding that, or even just, kind of following the intuition, or getting, some people may call it divine intervention, divine guidance, downloads, divine downloads. Do you feel like there is merit there where somebody like Teal, and I don't want to generalize, I know that in many, many cases, there are people that have had massive trauma in their life. And a lot of their life is guided in a way of protection, or even not creating, but like, I don't know. I've noticed, and again, there's no data, this is all anecdotally, there's no data that I know to support this, but a lot of these people have suffered from pretty major trauma, herself included, where she, had been sexually assaulted multiple times and raped and abused physically. She also had her own, suicidal attempts when she was younger. And I wonder, is there some truth to it? Is there some truth? Like, are some people gifted in that way?
I mean, the same way that people are gifted in every skill set. I don't think some skill sets are more valuable than others. I think when you start to think one's more valuable than the other, there's a little bit of a problem, right? Because then we create a hierarchy. Like if you had a better skill set for connecting, a more spiritual realm to the more physical realm and helping translate that for people, which is what a lot of spiritual healers, that's what their skill set is.
Right.
Is that they're able to kind of exist between realms, not in some mystical, magical way, but honestly, like between their intuition and whatever you want to call that, whether that be God, whether that be the heavens, whatever you want to call it. But they're skilled at being connected to both worlds, both realms, and translating that and helping other people find that connection for themselves. That's a wonderful skill set. I think it's highly valued in the people who need it. But it's also a wonderful skill set to be very grounded, be very literal and logical. It's a skill set to be very stern in your beliefs. It's a skill set to do lots of things. And so I really don't like to place value, because again, we're just creating another hierarchy. And to me, the whole point is getting people to understand the connectedness within themselves, their connectedness to others. And when you really do understand that, which is what makes me question old Teal, you understand there's no hierarchy. Like, there's no better way to live, better type of person to be. It's all just, we all have a purpose, and all of us fit in a certain space, and nobody is more special than the other. And it's just like it's cyclical, and it's all dependent on one another to survive.
Well, this is why it's really challenging, because in our society, money is king, bar none. If you look at just wealth on Instagram, like they'll quote Elon Musk. They'll quote really questionable people about their practices, like people that are just, kind of falling from grace in a lot of ways. They're just kind of gone on the crazy train, but people worship them because they've done something so special. So they call them celebrity stans. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
Oh, okay. I kind of know what you mean. Like,
so
from
Stan from
Eminem?
Like that song. Yes, the Dido Eminem song, Stan, of like, defending some celebrity you'll never ever meet, to the death. Like, you'll beat people up if they're, fucking with Taylor Swift, like
Yeah.
if they're talking shit about her. And people do that to Elon Musk. They do that. Donald Trump is his own cult.
I bet.
Yeah. And Elon Musk, and even, Bill Gates. And there's several people that are, or not Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos. Mm-hmm. Jeff Bezos. So there are celebrity stans, people that just worship it. So if there is no hierarchy, and I know I've been in positions before where, I remember I was with such a shitbag of a guy. I mean, he was just the worst. He was just the worst. But he did do this one favor for me. And at the time, I had left my job and was, I guess, unemployed at the time. I was $45,000 in debt. And I had gotten myself into that. I was in my early 30s or late 20s around then, probably early 30s. And I had sold my house, sold my car. I was living in the basement of some townhouse of a girl that hated me. I mean, it was just an awful time.
Sounds miserable.
I know. It was an awful time. And at the time, The Secret had come out. So it felt like, and I remember I was just like broken, crying on the floor of my, my basement my basement room. And my friend said, "Come over, you need to see this," and made me watch The Secret. And so I was thinking about, like, who can help me? Who can help me? Because I've made so many bad decisions. I can't trust myself. And so I was looking, in the church. I was going to Buckhead Church. I was going to, whatever mentor, anybody who had some kind of success or stability or, something that I wanted. And I remember this shitbag of a guy sat me down and he's like, "Allison, stop." He's like, "Stop looking at every guru or every person. You already have it. You have to stop." And I always think of that, but I also know that I just didn't trust my own instincts or my own decisions. I don't know where, like, people are just looking for answers.
Yeah, outside of themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that. And you said that earlier when you were talking about how everybody that you find, they're like, "Okay, invest in this program and it'll get you there." And it's this, like, kind of, it is a business. And I remember us working together, and I remember you talking about that. And that's what I was saying to you is, it's you. Stop investing money in these things. I'm not going to let you pay me anymore because it needs to stop. And so
That doesn't mean, I want to say, that doesn't mean your program of what you offered had ended.
Yeah, but
not that I was getting it for free from you.
No, but that I was like, don't even pay me. Like, not me. I don't have the answers. Right. No other program has the answers. This is a looking within situation. Like, you've gotten what you need, and you were just kind of stuck in a very important phase, which is gathering information, gathering insight, gathering perspective. That's very important in becoming who we are and making decisions and all of that. But we can get stuck in that phase, and you just keep doing that. And if you never actually look within, or the answers aren't coming from your own intuition and your own gut, then, you just kind of keep defaulting to someone else's, then you're living someone else's life. And that was one thing about this documentary that I was like, I hope people are watching this, because a big, big red flag for working with someone like this is anytime they ask you to step out of your intuition. Like, anytime they say you're resistant to something, people don't like me saying this, because I said it and you questioned me, and lots of other people questioned me. I don't think we're supposed to ask people to step out of their own intuition. I think if someone...
So what does that mean? What does that look like, stepping out of your own intuition? Give me an example.
So let's say I suggest to someone that they try some strategy, or oftentimes where this really shows up a lot is like a spiritual healer will suggest using something like psychedelics, or something that usually puts people out of their comfort zone. But it could be anything, any homework, any suggestion, anything that I'm asking someone to do. Guided meditation, for example. If I ask a client, would you like to try guided meditation? Because I see that they're stuck, they're stuck in their logical brain, and they really need to kind of cut past and get to the intuition. Now, that would make my job a lot easier if everyone said yes every time I asked. But when people say no, I always respect that, and I do not call into question that. And if somebody is saying, no, I think you should still do this, or let's say you're doing a guided meditation, or you're doing hypnosis or something like that, and you want to not go down that road, or you don't want to talk about that, and they say, oh, that's your ego, that's your shadow work. When you start hearing that stuff, I do not like that.
Let's get into it. Tell me about shadow work, because I have issues with this. I have questions.
I know. I'm not saying shadow work is the devil and no one should do it.
Can you define shadow work?
It's traditionally thought of hidden parts of yourself that you're ashamed of, hidden traumas, your darkness, that kind of thing that is supposedly exists in everyone and needs to be brought out in order to truly heal. And so whenever somebody reaches, not whenever, but often when somebody reaches a certain discomfort level in their healing process, and they don't want to move forward with talking about traumas, or they feel uncomfortable, quite honestly. Oftentimes a practitioner will tell them, oh, that's your shadow work, that's your ego, and you need to push past that. And on the other side of that is this beautiful nirvana that you're looking for. And I don't like that. I think it's not true. I think for some people it works. I know it gets people to a place of healing, but I support people all the time. We do not do shadow work, and they reach a place of healing that feels very comfortable for them. And I think it's bull. I just think that not for everyone. Like, everyone, if you need to, you can bypass shadow work. Not everybody has darkness in them, and not everybody has to talk about and minutia down every little trauma they've ever experienced.
I still wonder about that.
Have you done shadow work?
I guess. I mean, in some, I don't know. The way I'm organizing this information is, kind of, is it the same as if you go to, let's say, some kind of traditional therapist or a coach or somebody who says, well, where does that come in your childhood? Where did you see that first? That's what I'm thinking of shadow work is kind of, maybe, I don't know if it's re-experiencing or re-injuring yourself, or re-experiencing some traumatic experiences in your past. I think I'm confused over what shadow works is. And a lot of people do not go to therapy because they don't want to revisit it.
Yeah.
Or they don't want to get in the shit because it's painful to do it. And so you have a different approach on this too.
Yeah, I just don't think it necessarily has to hurt like that. Is it difficult and hard to heal and break generational cycles? Yeah, but I don't think that kind of pain is necessary. I don't require that people tell me their traumas. I don't require that they share everything that ever happened to them. And it's really re-traumatizing oftentimes. And people who really do a lot of this work, I mean, and not just these, me sort of made up title, but actual, people with the right letters after their name, as we talked about before, they understand that can be really re-traumatizing.
But that's the question. When is it re-traumatizing and when is it cathartic? Because I know in my own case, being able to just say it out loud and have somebody hear me, whether it has any connection to the present or not, it feels really good to feel like there is a non-biased witness to my story, whatever that means. Yeah. And I guess I wonder if that, like if you're thinking about false prophets or people that are, finding the right person for you, whether it is an online coach, like there's so many options and ways and benefits to, when is it re-traumatizing? When is it cathartic?
In my opinion, the difference is when it's at the consent of the client. Mm-hmm. When it is the client leads you forward to that place. And so if they're not really leading and you're kind of dragging them along, I don't think that's a great idea. And I just, when the term shadow work is used, I typically see that as a way of getting someone to keep moving forward with something that they're not comfortable with. Because whenever something's coming up and that person is very uncomfortable, is almost always the feeling that they feel is, I'm feeling uncomfortable. And then that person says, oh, this is your shadow work. That's how that feels. You should keep going forward. I'm just not a big fan of that. Does it lead people? Do other people go through that and then come out on the other end and they swear by it? Yeah, absolutely. Or it wouldn't still be a thing. It wouldn't be a big buzzword right now. But I know lots of people who can't go past that point because it's too re-traumatizing for them. And also, if you have like OCD or intrusive thoughts or, severe like self-worth issues, looking for darkness within yourself when you hate everything about yourself, you know what I'm saying? And that's my big beef is I'm here for those people. That's my clients. And to suggest that they have darkness within them when that's something that they have intrusive thoughts every day of their lives about, are they a good person or not? I don't like that. I'm like, back off. There's no darkness in them. They're nothing.
You've already suffered enough.
Yeah, you're a big ball of light. Shut up. There's no darkness there.
I think what's interesting about the Teal Swan thing is that there are some practices. Teal is, like she has these experiences that they documented in this documentary where they have people literally role play their trauma with other people, and other people will assume the parts of the abusers or people that are near there and kind of go through it, but go through it with somebody that can hug you, and kind of take you through it. It seems like, and I think that is the controversial part of what Teal does, And I noticed that in all of those, she doesn't do it. She has her minions kind of role play and do all the other stuff. She just sits and watches and maybe coaches from the sidelines, which, again, is like, it's also part of the cult leader, tactics. Do you have a charismatic leader? Mm-hmm. Are you afraid to leave, the group? Are you made fun of or admonished if you consider leaving? That us versus them mentality. But another one that I think is interesting is that a lot of cult leaders are considered lazy. And I don't know that we should use that term because we did a whole episode on the laziness lie. That's okay. But they said a lot of times cult leaders like Keith Raniere of NXIVM was like this. He would have his people do all the hard work where he would kind of hang back and just be the oracle.
That's interesting.
And mastermind. Yeah. And so I do want to say about the Teal Swan thing. So the documentary is called The Deep End on Hulu. And it's very, very interesting. And so I don't know if you watch this, but I was like so hooked into this, is that I would watch the episodes. There are only 4. I wish there was more.
I know.
And what I thought was interesting is that she was brought in under the understanding from the documentarians that she was going to show the truth, because people have called her a cult leader. They've called her narcissist. They've called, into question her practices. And I think that she has suffered some impact financially. I imagine it's probably the opposite now of just people finding her work, and, certainly people are going to crap on it. And some people are going to be like, no, she's for real. And I wonder, she had done, because again, she's got a big YouTube channel, an episode after everyone kind of calling out the bullshit and saying that, I feel duped because I was told this is going to put me in a positive light. And they cut it in a way where they would take conversations from different angles and things from different conversations and tie them together. Where this didn't happen, here's what happened. So it was real. Did you watch any of these?
No, you had sent me one and I watched a piece of it, but then I was gone. So what did it change your thoughts on her, or how did you receive those videos?
I loved getting it a different approach from it, because if you watch it, she's a piece of garbage if you watch the documentary. Then when you kind of watch her videos kind of talking about the bullshit, I think she has helped more people than she's hurt. And for that, again, people in a very fragile state, it's a very dangerous and controversial place. But I think there's a place for her. I think what you said right in the beginning is that the people closest to her, that is garbage. The way that she would talk to people, whether it was cut differently or not, the way she would treat people was really, really harsh. And even just, you said it right in the beginning of, I don't have any mentors. It is all me. This is the gift I was given from God or from whatever source. This was the gift that I was given to help people, and I'm just misunderstood, which again is, I wonder about the thought of, I don't like everybody. So why do I think everybody has to like me? And I wonder if that's the same thing for Teal Swan.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch those videos, I think, now that you're saying that. But I do, I could see how on the people on her fringes, no real harm is probably being done. And maybe she's saying a lot of things that resonate with them. But yeah, the closer you get to her, because there was a lot of suspicion. And I'm even trying to,
the manipulation, the controlling,
even looking past editing. There's certain things that, unless they're editing each word of her sentence together, that I'm like, big red flags. And definitely that was her not having mentors, her calling people to push, past things. And then I do think that she was possibly implanting traumatic memories into people, because they did this frog poison, which gives sort of like psychedelic experiences, except you almost always a bad trip. I know what she's talking about, this frog poison, and it's almost always guaranteed to be a bad trip. And so she's giving this to this is, and then again, these are the closer people in her circle. So maybe I wouldn't go to her retreats and let her give me anything or like do any like of these really intense experiences, because I do think she runs a huge risk of planning traumas that did not occur in people's minds. Because that, if you're giving people psychedelics like that, and then having these people who do not know this person, that you're just going to assume they can pull, like, people cannot know more about you than you know about yourself. So when you have this team of people who are just flying off the cuff with their intuition about what their dad did or what their mom did, and it's like, I think he molested you, and then you just go with that as if it's truth because this other person,
because you blocked it.
You
blocked it,
and we're going to trust this other person's random thought, over my own intuition about what happened in my childhood. Plus, all that's not even necessary. You can have repressed memories and still thrive in life. So that whole scene was like, okay, she's not great to be on her inner circle. And just in general, it is good to make us think about the fact that anybody who gets that many followers, that many listeners, I don't know, I'm just not, I think you have to be somewhat compromising, because to grab that large of an audience, and I mean that for people that I do like. But
it's the same, like holistic psychologist has her own, you know, critiques as well, as being somebody who's very litigious, and, you know, people that are close to her that try and debunk what she says, you know, when she's kind of dispensing her, you know, insights into it. It's just an interesting perspective. And I think it all comes down to power, right? And I see this on a smaller scale for church congregations, for, you know, and for pastors and people, not all, of course, but there are some that, you know, like you probably know that I have not found a church where I feel at home anywhere, but I love the sermons. I love good speakers, and I love learning. Like I think Andy Stanley of Buckhead Church is one of the most gifted communicators I've ever seen. But I've sat in churches where I'm like, this guy thinks he, you know, like the anointed kind of thing of just, here's what God means from this. And it's like, really? Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't, because you read the Bible a lot and you went to seminary school. I don't know where that line is of, well, that's what Pastor Dave said, you know, like he's telling us to do whatever. As I don't know, it's just the prophet thing, the false prophet of looking for answers, looking for somebody that's anointed, somebody that there is a hierarchy, you know, and I think even just the human experience, the human condition of just the, you know, envy that comes up. I mean, it is a human emotion. There's nobody that doesn't envy somebody else at some point in their life, of just wanting to be further, you know, or more enlightened.
Yeah, but I get it. I think in my mind, I'm almost, if someone thinks they can lead that number of people, then that is a reason that's a red flag for me personally. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
so do you think somebody like Joel Osteen, are you familiar with Joel Osteen?
Yeah, roughly. Isn't he like a motivational speaker / preacher? Or?
He's a pastor. He is the pastor of probably one of the largest churches. It's in Texas. I think it's Dallas or Houston. I can't be, I don't know. I forget the name of the church, but Joel Osteen is very, very unfailingly positive. And, you know, like I used to listen to him and have him, have his sermons put me to sleep because he was so positive. And it was very, it was feel good. It was feel good. And so he certainly, but he broadcasts, he has a worldwide audience, you know, and just, it certainly a mega church pastor, certainly has his controversy as well. And I remember seeing an interview with him and his wife, and it was almost like watching a Stepford thing. Like, you want to believe that somebody is so purely good and positive, you know, like that whole Mr. Rogers kind of quality of somebody of just, wow, I'd love to be that positive. And I remember he was on some big interview, maybe it was ABC or something, or Diane Sawyer. And they asked him and his wife, you know, have you ever fought? And they looked at each other. They'd been together for like 20 something years. And they're like, no, we don't fight. And I was like, what? You know, like, can't you just be relatable?
Yeah.
Like, it just was so not.
I want to call bull on that. Or there's something toxic about that. Like,
I don't know.
Something doesn't feel right about that.
But also it's like, you know, we want so bad for somebody to kind of be put on this pedestal. So when you have people that, you know, Rudy Giuliani is somebody that people worshipped, and he was so amazing in a time of crisis and fell the fuck like through to hell. You know what I mean? Like, he just fell down. Like, we just are looking for somebody to be great all the time, somebody to look up to. And it's just hard. It is hard.
Who do you think runs the biggest risk of being a false prophet to you? Like, what do you call it? Celebrity stan? Or
Celebrity stan.
Who do you the most? And you run the risk of like, oh man, I probably hold them a little too high.
Brene Brown.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I've done that, and she helped me actually understand not to do that. Like, don't put her on a pedestal even, because she seems like the most pedestal worthy.
Yeah, like I can't. I don't know where you're going. Go more. Say more.
Well, I put her on a pedestal too. And then I was like, well, it caused me a lot of imposter syndrome of like, who am I to say? Because Brene's always saying it better. Brene already said it first, so then it kind of kept me quiet for a while, because I was like, we already have our hero. Just go look at her. Just read her books. Go see what she has to say. So I really kept me in a box. Like, well, can't be Brene. And then I can't remember who said this. I think it was a childhood friend of mine's mom, who I just look to for advice every now and then. And I remember she said something about like the people who you worship the most should be the people you know the best. Like, so take all these people off the pedestal, and your heroes should really be people that you truly know are heroes, because it's one skill set to be able to write well or speak well, but it's another to know that person through and through and know that they've been a very solid person in your life. So that really shifted it for me. And I don't follow a whole lot of people with the blue check by their name anymore. And
you're so funny with that. I think your philosophy on Instagram is really funny, that you have a number of people that you will not go over to follow. What is it?
Well, I think it's like 325, but I sometimes go over it. Sometimes I'm less. Have you ever heard of Dunbar's number? You ever heard of this? It's 180, and it's actually based on research about chimpanzees, but the where it happens in the brain is similar to humans. But it's basically like you really can only truly have a community of 180 people or less and truly engage with those people. So I try to keep that. Ideally, then my number would be 180, but I'm not truly engaging with everybody who follows it. But I do try to keep that in mind of like, who are the 180 people that I'm investing in the most, and outside of that, I'm not that worried about everybody else.
I thought about the 325 or whatever. And so I'm looking at my followers are more than the people I follow are more than my followers. And I'm like, this is just dumb. And so I've tried to unsubscribe or unfollow a bunch of people. So I've gotten from like over 3,000 to 2,500 or something crazy.
Oh, it was over 3,000?
Yes. And so I'm like trying to pare it down.
Good.
Like, I don't give a fuck.
Jeez, that's a lot of people.
But I don't know how to mass unfollow. I wish there was a way. There probably is some way, but
yeah, that would take forever.
It does. And so and you can only unsubscribe from or unfollow a certain number of people at a time. Oh. So when I'm in downtime, I'm like, who can I unfollow?
I think that's good. I really think you're going through
forever.
That. But yeah, but it's worth it. And I see you going through that process where you are turning more inward, and I have a whole lot of respect for that. It's exciting.
Oh, thanks. So how exciting is this? What do you think?
I like this.
You like
conversation.
This format?
I hope other people like listening to it.
I think everybody is going to watch The Deep End after listening to this, and then watch the Teal Swan videos, the YouTube videos that she did, calling BS on all of it. And I would love to hear what you think. I would love to hear what you guys think too, listening.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be interesting to hear what people think after watching both. I'm going to go watch the other.
I think this is an interesting conversation because it truly does go through, here's what's happening in pop culture. And you're like, here's why we might need to shift it. I think it was a perfect balance.
I think so too, because there's a lot of ways that I need your help, like with knowing I get kind of out of touch, as you can tell. So I really appreciate you giving me new words like celebrity stan.
No problem. I'm good at that. Well, thank you so much, Cindy Robinson. Until next time. Wasn't that fun? I'm so excited for the upcoming episodes and would love to hear from you. Please go to AllisonandHair.com for more details and hit me up. You can also support the show by going to patreon.com/culture changers. See you next time.